In a constantly evolving industry, what changes do you foresee shaping the future of property management, including, you just mentioned, it's going to be more technology. What else do you see?
Workplace strategy is such a popular conversation right now since COVID and returning to work, and as people really look at their space and as people become more flexible, do you need large office? It's just not common anymore. That's an ongoing conversation, and I love seeing how people redesign offices.
Property managers often deal with various stakeholders. How do you ensure effective communication and foster positive relationships with property owners, tenants, and contractors?
This industry is so relationship-based. My contractors that I use currently, I used 10 years ago when I started my career. And so here at Atlas, we have a lot of different stakeholders because our assets are owned by a variety of owners. So there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth with regards to, large approvals and that sort of thing. So I am supported by senior management in that regard here, but it's all about building that relationship, building that trust.
Welcome to the Mastering Property Management podcast. I'm your host, Jared Sarbit. Join me as we delve into candid conversations with industry experts to uncover their strategies and insights for achieving success in property management. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, let's elevate your property management skills together.
I'm Jared Sarbit. This is Mastering Property Management. Today I have the honor and privilege of having Carla Barney on. She's a senior property manager with Atlas Development Corporation. Carla, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Jared. I'm excited to have this chat with you.
Likewise. Carla, let's get into it. So tell me a little bit about your story. What got you into property management in the first place? What are some major milestones along the way? And how did you reach your current level of success that you're at today?
Well, I am an East Coast girl. I was born in Newfoundland and came to Calgary in 2007-8. After completing a Bachelor of Education, actually. So I came to Calgary hoping to be a teacher. I did my internships here, and it was not for me. And so I just took a reception position at that time, 2008, straight out of university with a third-party property management group downtown Calgary. And I just loved it. I loved how multifaceted the industry was, and kind of just grew my career from there. Went back to school, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but did some courses and just really got to know the business. For me, some of my milestones, I would say, is jumping on board with companies such as Manulife, Hines, Hungerford out of Vancouver, now over here at Atlas, where, we just learned so much about the business and the different type of assets. Got to be a part of some really cool development teams at Manulife, for example, building, the stunning 707 Fifth. And so just really learning all of the pieces of the business. Yeah.
Amazing. And so you again, the common story in property management is, you work your way up the ranks, often starting as, like a receptionist or an on-site manager. That's so common in this industry. When you started as a receptionist, did you fall in love with the industry, and did you feel like this is where I want to be, or did it take some time for you to kind of get into it? Or
I think for me, I've always just been a naturally curious person. I think there are so many cool jobs in the world. So right from the get-go, I just love the business feel. I love putting on my heels and getting downtown. And so I was just naturally curious about the business at that time. And that kind of motivated me to go back to school and take classes and courses and just also be surrounded by really good people, talented people in the industry, and learn from them as well. So
that's amazing. And so did you find was it challenging to go into that from like a secretary position into the property management, or did it really help, like having that secretarial kind of perspective? Did it really help once you got into property management?
It really did. And, now that I'm a manager and I manage people, I think a lot of our, property administrators, assistant managers, they've also come up through the ranks. And when you start at the bottom of an organization, and I use that term lightly, but you really do get to see all the pieces. You are the filter for those calls, those questions. You are CC'd on all of that correspondence. And so it really gave me, full full cycle of what we do every day, from inputting an invoice to now, managing people, managing assets, doing budgets, that sort of thing. So I would say that most people that, that I'm close with in our industry, we've all kind of started, we all kind of fell into it. But what I do love is seeing that, U of C with their new School of Real Estate and having these programs where people are actually studying real estate in Calgary.
Yeah. Very, very good. That's fantastic. Can you tell me, what are some of the key characteristics that Carla Barney has that really makes you successful, that has helped you, progress into a senior property management position? What do you hold that makes you so successful?
Well, I think I just touched on it. I'm naturally curious, right? And so, and I know it's a little cliche, but I think that people that really do enjoy their jobs tend to excel. And I really do enjoy my job. I've always enjoyed this career path. Every day is different. So being curious, being hungry for that growth, attaining that knowledge. I'm a motivated person. I want to see growth in my career. But also, you have to be patient. You do have to kind of grow your way through the ranks, and there are workplaces that support that, education, but also just giving you opportunity. And so I'm always the one to say yes. There's nothing I'll really say no to. I'll always put my hand up. There's, days I'm on the roof, and then there's days I'm at a fancy lunch, and you have to just say yes. You have to be open, be teachable. That's one thing I tell, my mentees is be teachable, be open to that knowledge, that training.
Amazing. Are you a mentor yourself in the industry, or?
I have done some in the past, not currently this year, but I have done some through Crew Calgary, through the U of C as well. Highly recommend anyone in this industry looking to be a mentee or a mentor. Been a mentee myself. It's excellent way to learn from each other.
Wonderful. Really nice. Really nice. Tell me a little bit about Atlas Development Corporation.
Okay, so we are a locally owned and operated real estate company. The owners have been around for over 40 years. We hold our assets for a long time. Some of our assets we've had for over 40 years. And there are, I guess, some different ownership groups within Atlas Development Corporation, and I lead Atlas Property Services. So we are an internal property management group that manages those assets on behalf of a variety of owners. So we own things like a section of 17th Avenue, for example, a number of BMOs, A&Ws, the Cascade Mall in Banff. So a variety of assets, light industrial, some office, lots of retail. Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, we were talking the other day and you were kind of going over the portfolio, and it's so diverse.
So diverse. And that means you have a ton of diverse tenants, leases, requirements. And some of these buildings are getting old too. So there's quite a bit of capital planning and work that needs to be done.
Amazing. Yeah, very, very cool. And as you mentioned, with your education, you've earned a certificate in professional management with a specialization in construction management from the University of Calgary, as well as a Bachelor of Education, as you mentioned, and you completed a Real Estate Association program at Memorial University in Newfoundland and Labrador. Can you share how these educational experiences have been valuable to your journey in property management?
Yeah, so I am a lifelong learner for sure. I graduated from Memorial University with a teaching degree in 2004, and I think every single year since, 20 years later, I'm still taking classes. I love it. I love studying in the winter months of Calgary. I'm a lifelong learner. For me, the certificate of construction management out of U of C was great because we do so much construction as being property managers. And I really wanted to understand building systems, City of Calgary bylaws, that sort of thing. So I really found value in that one. And then I do have my real estate associate's license as well. So I am a licensed property manager, and I am licensed in residential real estate, and I'm currently enrolled in commercial licensing program. So my goal is to be a broker, hopefully by mid next year, early next year. So for me, like I said, there's an old quote and it says, the time passes anyway, what are you going to do with it? And so For me, I use my time, my free time. I study quite a bit, and I think it's just an investment in yourself.
Fantastic. Yeah, time's the one thing we can't get back. So yeah, it sounds like you make good use of it. That's amazing. Yeah, really good. Property managers often deal with various stakeholders. How do you ensure effective communication and foster positive relationships with property owners, tenants, and contractors?
Yeah, so I think this industry is so relationship based. My contractors that I use currently, I used 10 years ago when I started my career. And so here at Atlas, we have a lot of different stakeholders because our assets are owned by a variety of owners. So there's a lot of communication that goes back and forth with regards to, large approvals and that sort of thing. So I am supported by senior management in that regard here, but it's all about building that relationship, building that trust. On a day-to-day basis, I chat to tenants all day. And we are in a business where we often hear from tenants when there's a problem, when there's something to solve. It's very rare to get an email telling you something great. So I guess my way of dealing with tenants is always just trying to let them know they've been heard. I think, even me as a renter, for example, when I have a problem, I just want my property manager or landlord to answer me and come up with a solution for me. So I'm very solution based. I try to show, some sympathy and empathy and try to just solve the problem. And it's worked well, I think, for me thus far anyways. But like I said, I think it's this industry is very relationship focused and based.
Yes. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. That's awesome. Balancing cost effectiveness with property maintenance is crucial. How do you and your team prioritize upgrades and repairs to ensure long-term value for both owners and tenants?
Yeah, so I guess that's my task every single day, right? Is to manage these assets to the best of our ability and staying within budget. I think the key word you used was prioritize. So, we look at each of our assets, what is a priority right now, and then what things can be delayed. And so every July, August, we start our budget time. So we're coming up on that. And we'll start really analyzing the assets, what needs to get done, what capital planning should we plan for over the next 5 to 10 years as well. We have some aging roofs, for example, so we get our consultants in. So we're always looking at cost savings, properly bidding projects. And construction is expensive right now. We know that. We hear it in the market all the time. And we also have to be really thoughtful about our tenants. What are they paying for operating costs? Where can we save on utilities, for example? So I just did a new contract to try and find some cost savings within our utilities. So all about priority items, looking at where you can save. Tenants, we want to keep them happy. Yeah. Knowing the assets, that's key.
Amazing. Yeah, I imagine each one has its own life.
It really does.
And am I right to say, like, you can budget, but there's always surprises, and there's
Absolutely.
So it's hard. I imagine by the end of the year, it's rare that a budget actually hits budget. Am I right to say that, or is it?
Well, I mean, we hope really hope that we're in a certain range, I suppose, because it's challenging to, just like ourselves, it's challenging to get a invoice the tenant at the end of the year. And they're not prepared for that either, right? So we really try and do our best for sure.
Amazing. How do you leverage technology and software to streamline your property management processes and enhance the tenant experience?
Yeah, so I just rolled out a brand new industry software here at Atlas. It took us 8 months to roll that out, and I led that. And prior to that, we were, I would say, more manual on some of our processes and accounting and all of that. So it's been going very well. We have tenant portals. So some of that's still being rolled out. As we go forward, I see that becoming more and more popular. It's been a really interesting implementation for us over here at Atlas. So
amazing. Did you find, was the change a shock to the team to implement a new technology?
I think even at the senior level, our accountants, they're very good. They're in the system all the time. But when you start and engaging other members of the team to dive in and check that out and make sure you put that in the system and don't save that to your desktop. It's change management for sure. Everyone on board. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. It sounds like you've done a great job at it. So,
thanks. And hope so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. In a constantly evolving industry, what changes, do you foresee shaping the future of property management, including, you just mentioned, it's going to be more technology, but what else do you see?
Yeah, I mean, workplace strategy is, it's such a popular conversation right now since COVID and returning to work, and as people really look at their space and as people become more flexible, do you need large offices, 100 square foot offices? It's just not common anymore. So I think that's an ongoing conversation, and I love seeing how people redesign offices. Parking is a huge conversation as well. We're building buildings without parking. Well, to walk downtown and ride bikes. So that's interesting. More green initiatives. How do we become more sustainable? So many conversations around that as well. Yes. And then, like you mentioned, the technology, with all of this conversation about AI and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. When you say office strategy, design strategy, is that right?
Yeah. I visited a very cool office from Casey Architecture where there's tons of just drop down offices. We have people here that come in for a couple hours a day, but they have, a huge office. So even us, we're looking at, do we need that? Can that be a drop down office where you put your laptop, I use it for an hour, you use it for an hour? More flexible meeting space, right?
Amazing.
More amenities. People want gyms. People want a place to have a nice lunch, have a quiet minute. Yeah. So I love seeing what people are doing in the industry when it comes to revamping their space.
Totally. Yeah. One other podcast I had, they're saying how they're competing against people's homes. So they need to, attract them. So they're coming out of their homes and coming to the office space. And that's got to be a challenge, I'm sure. So, you're absolutely right that seems to be a big trend. As a leader in property management, what advice would you give to aspiring property managers looking to climb the ranks and achieve similar levels of success as yourself? You've mentioned a little bit earlier on, but I'd love to hear a little bit more from you.
Yeah, I think, again, be teachable, be open, be teachable, be hungry for that information. Also surround yourself with really good people that are talented and experienced in the industry. I'm so grateful for people that have supported me, given me opportunity, but also someone that you can call to say, hey, what have you done here? Or what's the going rate for this? And so, I've been a avid member of Crew Calgary since 2011. I've sat on the board a few times. I volunteer on committees, and there's something to be said about, sitting around tables and having conversations about what's going on in the industry. What are you experiencing? And people from different areas. There's lawyers on our committee. There's property managers, building maintenance and so on. So just being surrounded by those people has really benefited me. And so I would really suggest that jumping on an opportunity to be a mentee, join things like BOMA, get out there. And people are always willing to chat, and you hope that after a while, they'll mention you, in a room full of others where there's opportunity. And if you lose a job, you can call someone and say, hey, I just lost my job. Do you know of anything that's open? And I think we're so willing to support each other in this industry.
Yeah, I really see that. I'm seeing that more and more, how tight-knit and supportive of a community it is. It's really special.
It is.
Tell me a little bit about Crew. You've mentioned that a few times. I have seen it, on social media and that sort of thing, but I don't know a lot about it. So I'd love to hear what is Crew. Yeah,
so Crew is commercial real estate for women. It's a North American wide. Well, it's global now actually, because I think we have a few chapters in Europe as well. Part of a global network. And we're all about supporting women in commercial real estate, networking, education. We do quite a bit of charity work for the School of Real Estate. There's scholarship programs. There's quite a bit of research that happens with regards to pay parity and that sort of thing. So we have a Calgary chapter, over 200 members strong.
Wow.
When I joined in 2011, there was, I think, less than 100. So we've really grown. There's monthly events. We do welcome men. Jared, we'd love to have you out.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Even though it's commercial real estate for women, we do have male members. Members
cool.
from across the industry, designers, furniture suppliers, on various levels. So
wow, sounds like a great,
it has been a wonderful addition to my career path for sure. I've met so many wonderful people, and so highly recommend. Check out an event, join,
Very nice. I'm definitely doing a deep dive. So I'm going to be checking out crew. Yeah. Very, very cool. Thanks for sharing that. Can you share a particularly challenging property management situation you faced, and how did you effectively resolve that situation?
I would say when I was working on a development, a very large development, and we had a deadline to meet. So more, I would say, on the construction side, but basically, if we didn't meet the deadline, the tenant couldn't move in, and that tenant had a lease for 11 floors. And if we didn't meet the deadline, we owed them in the millions.
Oh my goodness!
So we're down to the day. Like, the tenant is ready, packed. It's a Friday. And we get the partial occupancy permit from the city. And there's a video of me waving a paper, waving partial on a Friday. And then the next day, the tenant had to move in 11 floors, at which time they were only moving into 6. But it was a Saturday morning, and I was the only member from the team that had gone to the building to make sure. And it was a moment of success for me, I think, that we pushed it over the finish line. But what followed thereafter was, partial occupancy means that it's also under construction.
Yeah, right.
So I had 400 construction guys also in the building.
Wow.
And so I had to, coordinate this tenant moving in without mess, dust.
Wow.
And it was one of the most challenging experiences.
No kidding.
For sure.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite one so far. This is my 18th podcast, and that's the best story I've heard so far. You take the cake.
Yes. In fact, because we didn't want to see the construction, and the tenant was a very high-end tenant, I had to filter 400 guys every morning in a back door. So the beautiful lobby wasn't impacted by these construction people in there, dirty boots, and
unbelievable.
I needed a cleaning company then, Jared. I needed.
Yeah. Well, now hopefully that doesn't happen again. But if it does, I'm here. So that's amazing. So how did the tenant respond? Like, I imagine there was a lot of frustration and fear leading up to it. But in the end, did they appreciate what you went through and what you did? Or?
Yeah. And there was one tenant representative as well. And so her and I, it was boots on the ground. It was like, what do you do?
Yeah,
you got to jump in, and we made it work. We definitely put our work in that weekend to get everyone in.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very interesting, challenging experience, but I loved it.
No kidding.
And that's why I love construction. I love that piece of it.
Yeah, you really rose to the challenge. That's amazing. Yeah, side story, but as you were speaking, it reminded me of my wedding. We had a hall in Saskatoon, and it wasn't complete. We were the first wedding in the hall, and the reception. And they literally I came there the day before, and the toilets still weren't installed. so I pulled them all together, and I said, listen, guys, I have people coming from all around the world. We had 450 people coming.
Oh, no, right.
You guys need to pull this together now.
Yeah.
And it was at the very last second, kind of like you waving the paper, that they managed to pull it together.
Yeah.
So, It was. I can relate. I can relate to that story. So, awesome. Assuming janitorial is one of your largest ongoing costs, how do you look for janitorial companies to work with, and what qualities do you look for in a company?
Yeah, so, we talked about relationships for sure, and a lot of my contractors and service providers, such as janitorial, has been a long relationship. I will say, top thing would be customer service. Customer service, number one, for sure. I expect it, and the tenants expect it. And also, I've come to realize that nothing is ever perfect, right? And so I actually manage a large portfolio of medical facilities. And that is very particular. As you can imagine, we have, waste and that sort of things that really needs to be managed properly. And so that expectation is different than, perhaps our little office here in Kensington. And so that customer service, that relationship where we can say, this is our expectation in this regard. The other thing I really look for is that QA from the janitorial side of things. I think that those monthly inspections, just having a finger on the pulse of what's going on, you're doing that QA has always been super important for me. And if those two things happen, those contracts are renewed and renewed. Awesome. Very, very well explained. And you're right that in our industry, it's not always perfect, but I always say, things will go wrong, but it's how you handle them. And that's what, we try to separate ourselves from the others is it's how we respond to the issues and how we fix them, and that makes a big difference because our industry, things, you will miss the garbage once in a while, but it's how you communicate and how you follow up and never let it happen again. So great. Thank you for that insight. That was really helpful. This contract for this little office that I'm in has been here since the 80s.
Wow. No kidding.
When I started here, I put it on new paper because I couldn't even read the typed text anymore. We're a little building here, but imagine that little relationship that's continued on. And
That is beautiful. That is really beautiful. Yeah, I have a lot of respect for that. That's for sure. Good. Now for the fun questions. So if you could manage any famous property in the world, what property would that be and why?
I had to do a little bit of thinking about this when you sent me these questions. I think the Louvre in Paris.
Oh, nice.
How cool would it be to be surrounded by all of that history and that art? Imagine my security contract. Imagine the famous people that would come through there, the movies we might film. And to be in Paris, I could live in Paris. I could pick up my baguette and my coffee and walk to my office. Come on.
That sounds pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
A new Netflix series.
Yeah.
For the M in Paris, it's Carla in Paris.
Oh yeah, I can see it. That's awesome. Do you speak French?
I understand a little bit because I grew up on the Quebec border in Newfoundland. But I don't speak it very well at all.
Okay, j'ai pris un école pour 9 années. Mais je manque beaucoup de pratique.
Okay, well, no, I didn't. But I could take classes in Paris after work.
Totally. I love it. All right, that's good. Don't think it's just a dream. You could do it. You could
probably do it. I am a free bird.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Good. And then if you could recommend one book to your fellow property managers, what book would that be and why?
Okay, so there's a book called The Leadership Challenge, and it's by Barry Posner.
Okay.
And it really talks about the best practices of exceptional leadership. And also it talks a lot about why people work, why people want to work, what they want to get from their work. It's about what motivates people in their jobs. I think as I grow through my career, managing people is probably one of the hardest things that we do, right?
Yeah.
it's people. It's people that have sick kids and things going home and whatever it might be. We're all human. We're all here to do a job. And so I really enjoyed that book, really just understanding what motivates people to be their best, to do their best. Because I think as a leader, you're towing the line here. Like, we're all part of a team. And I highly recommend it if you are, in a leadership position or growing in a leadership position. And the other thing I've learned over the years is the type of leader that I don't want to be. I've never left a job because I love my job, but I've left, a certain type of perhaps leadership or team. And so I have a lot left to learn, but as I grow through the career, I've been learning more about the type of leader that I would like to be. And this book was very eye-opening, so highly recommend it. 2 million copies have been sold.
Wow. Yeah. No kidding.
And it's a great book to understand people and what makes people do well at work. Yeah.
Amazing. Leadership Challenge by Barry Posner.
That's right.
Okay, I got it. That's awesome. Sounds really good. Really good. Yeah, I'll be adding that on the shelf. And so when you say what kind of leader you don't want to be, can you kind of deep dive into that a little bit, or?
Yeah, I think it's important to lead with empathy and compassion. Also, I try not to micromanage and let people, prove their talents and their commitments. I try and be a fair leader as well. And as I said, I think people have a lot going on in their lives and rushing to work and balancing kids and whatever it might be. Yeah. And so to be thoughtful about people and what motivates them. Some people want a paycheck. Some people want a promotion. Yeah. Right. Right. Yes. And so, understanding what do people want? What do my team, what makes them do well? What makes them happy to come to work? Yeah. We have an espresso maker here at work. Okay. And it makes me so happy. I wouldn't be quite as happy if we didn't have an espresso. That's amazing. I love coming to work, making my good coffee, settling in for the day. It's the time. That's awesome. So I got to ask the question, was it there before or after you started working there? It was here before. And perfect. Completely stoked. Yeah, that's awesome. For this coffee maker. It's simple. I love little things. Morning coffee and settling in my day. Amazing. Yeah. Right on. Yeah. That's awesome. So you sound like a really good leader and a great person to work with and for. And so thank you. That's awesome. Amazing. Well, Carla, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you. I look forward to continue to watch your great success. And is there anywhere that people could reach out to you if they want to learn more about you? Yeah, for sure. You can pop me an email at cbarney@atlasdevco.com. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. And happy to chat to anyone. Awesome. Thank you so much, Carla. Thanks, Jared. Okay. Thanks. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.